third question, keeping in mind, everyone, as in students, that you only have to do one question, and I'm going to talk about the instructions for writing questions in 1 second. But for now, let's go through the avenues of response for third question, which is, let me get it, you don't have to follow me. Let me go back and get the actual question. Okay.
Third essay.
This is the third one, which is, what are the three major lessons that you've learned from the course so far? Please explain in terms of your own life goals and experiences. Be very concrete, but feel free to fictionalize some. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just taking basically our 7 major themes. And these themes, hey, how are you? Good morning. And once again, to the greater audience, the students, as I've been saying, are coming in now because we're still before class. Okay, this is becoming whatever, pedagogical or an art forum that is summarizing the class before it starts. It works. I think it's very helpful. Okay, but so what I'm doing now, to be clear, is I am converting the major moments of our class to themes that cover them all, but don't necessarily refer to any one in particular. So students, what you need to do for each of these 7, and everyone, keep in mind, please, that there are many, we probably have 15 or 20 major themes by now in our course. And these are the 7, I mean, quite frankly, they just came to mind. Okay, and they're sort of in order, but and they're sort of close to what the first 2 questions are setting up, but they're not in any really systematic, rigid, serious order. Okay, so the first theme that we see throughout the course, and we saw this in the cave, and all the way through, is the fallen state of the average person. Now, we saw this in the cave, and we talked at great length at the limitations of the cave dwellers. The limitations in terms of the moral limitations, the epistemological limitations, the quality of life limitations, and so on and so forth. The basic point is most people most of the time live in ignorance and duplicity, and you can basically find elements of this in every single philosopher. And of course, this is very strong in the Sermon on the Mount, and it's equally strong in the Old Testament, okay? And we'll see a different version of this. And this is one of the reasons why I put it first. When we get to Descartes next week, I mean, it's really extremely different, and that difference between Descartes and the earlier philosophers is of great interest. Okay, so the second point, I'm going to speed up a little bit because we want to keep the videos a little shorter. The second point is the difficulty of escaping this, and we see that really clearly, most clearly, I think, in the cave. That is, those people are basically not only clueless, but they resist any assistance. And as I've been, sort of indicating all semester, this is something you really got to work on. You really got to think about it, because to be brutal about it, it is exactly the opposite of the American dream. We're basically have this 18th century optimism, thinking that if you try hard, it'll always get better. The moral portrait that Plato and Socrates, if you like, are drawing is not really that. There's a version of it, which I should probably cover. But the sort of overarching sense is that the masses are not going to rise up and improve themselves greatly. And once again, I'm not asking anyone to accept this by any means, but I want you to think about it. Okay, part of the effort, and this effort is both on the unfreed people and on the philosopher trying to free them, is constant questioning. And the give and take between people and the question and answer aspect is one of the really great contributions of philosophy. This is also, I think, one of the areas about contemporary life that you really want to look at closely. That is to say, are we better or worse now at the give and take between honest and sincere questioning or not? Are we basically enveloped in a lot of taboos in the way the Athenian world that put Socrates to death was? Okay, so that's 3. 4, that despite however bad and however negative and however unpleasant the daily quote-unquote world is, there are still stable, constant values. That's why we basically did 2 weeks plus on ontology, and where we talked about the levels of reality contrasted. The constant, eternal, stable values, some of which were ethical, some of which were psychological, and the transient, changing values. That ontology is really derived from a vision of life, where